My name is Mike Gutzler, and this podcast is an attempt to celebrate and honor and lift up some amazing leaders and organizations that are in and around our neighborhood. And today I'm really excited to have Tara with us. Tara, can you take a moment to introduce yourself and the organization that you're with?
Sure. Thanks, Mike. I am Tara Ruszkowski, the Executive Director of the Lamb Center.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you here. Thank you for your time. And if you could just start off, please tell us a little bit about the amazing place that is the Lamb Center.
Sure will. The Lamb Center is a daytime shelter for people who are experiencing poverty and homelessness in central Fairfax County. We serve about 1,900 unique individuals a year. Not all of those folks are experiencing homelessness, but a large majority of them are. So when folks come through the doors at the Lamb Center, our intention is to be very holistic in the way that we approach our guests. We refer to folks as guests, not as clients. Our intention is to be low barrier. We are a Christian ecumenical ministry, and that really governs how we serve, not who we serve, but how we serve. And it really differentiates us from other social services organizations in our area. But when folks come through the door, they can receive meals, showers, clothing. We have laundry service. We have medical and dental. We're a place where people can pick up mail. We have cubbies for our guests where they can store their belongings if they need to. Of course, we have case management services, which is sort of the most critical component of our work at the Lamb Center. We have Bible study and weekly chapel services. So many services
Yeah.
available at the Lamb Center.
It's a great space. Can you tell, for those who may have not been inside, can you tell us a little bit about the layout and all the different things that are there once you walk in?
Yeah, so when you come through the doors, again, our intention is to be very low barrier and very accessible. And so the only thing that we ask for when people come through the front door is for their name, and we welcome them. And that's very important to who we are and what our guests have come to expect from us. We know your name when you come through our door. And for a lot of our folks who are so invisible in the community, just having someone know their name and use their name is really powerful. And so when folks come through the door, we have a large great room. The centerpiece of the great room is our Bible study table, and it's a place where we have daily Bible study. But it's just a gathering place where people eat and visit because we're really a community at the end of the day. So a community of staff, of guests, and of the volunteers who are really important, critical component of our ability to do the work that we do. So again, when you come through, there's this large open space with a Bible study table, and on the other side of the room, there's a big kitchen where we serve breakfast and lunch. And then on the right side of the room, there's a laundry service where you can drop off your laundry in the morning, and we'll typically have it done for you that same day, but we tell guests they can come back the next day and pick up their laundry. We have case management offices sort of on the periphery of the room, and our operations team, which is right there off of the main room. And then upstairs we have additional staff offices, but we also have a medical clinic and a dental clinic. We have a large classroom space because we tend to be a convener with so many local community organizations, and they use that space. For example, we have daily AA meetings that are held up in that space, and we also, as a catalyst for community groups, also partner with other organizations that provide services for our guests. So a lot happening in a relatively small space. Altogether, it's probably about 10,000 square feet of space with lots of services happening throughout the day. And our hours of operation were open Monday through Saturday, and Monday through Friday we're open from 8 until 3 p.m. Although we do open earlier for our workforce crew. We have a great workforce development program that helps folks get back to work who are interested. And we have wonderful partnerships with Fairfax City and Fairfax County. And our workforce crews actually come in as early as 6:30 in the morning so they can take a shower, have a meal before they head out to work for the day. But for the rest of the folks who come in, it's 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, and then on Saturdays, 8 to 12:30.
Great. Great. And you listed off a variety of services, which is extraordinary. Can I assume that those are all free for your guests?
100%, yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Excellent. So you also mentioned, and all those services are possible through the help and support of a lot of volunteers. Can you say a little bit about what your volunteers do on a regular basis or on a daily
Oh my
basis
gosh,
when they come in?
yes, we are so grateful. So I guess if our staff is sort of the skeleton, the volunteers are the flesh, and we could not be who we are and what we are without this army of folks that come in with just a huge desire to serve. And we are super blessed to be supported by over 80 faith partners that support us in a variety of ways. Certainly, most importantly, with prayer and volunteers. They provide in kind as well as financial supports for the Lamb Center, and so they're a great source of volunteer recruitment, and we're very grateful for our faith partners. We have a variety of ways that people can volunteer and serve at the Lamb Center. There are sort of four major areas, but there's many spin-offs. But the four major areas are at our front desk, in our kitchen, in our laundry, and then upstairs in our clothing closet. But there's many other opportunities to do drives for us and to do one-off projects. So we have a volunteer coordinator named Katie Glick, and she can be, you can connect with her on our website. It's a great way to find out what's available and how to get connected with the Lamb Center.
So, in addition to that, can you maybe share one of your favorite stories about how the Lamb Center has impacted an individual or a couple of individuals in a meaningful way?
Well, yeah, I would say that everybody's story is different, and it's important that we walk the journey with our guest, no matter what their story is or what brings them to the Lamb Center. And but one guest is who comes to mind is a gentleman named Patrick, and he came to us a few years ago experiencing homelessness. His family situation was pretty rough, and ended up leaving his home, and he was sleeping in a park in Fairfax. Learned about the Lamb Center, came in, got connected with our case management services, got involved in our jobs program. We have, as I mentioned, a wonderful workforce development program, which is centered around two different partnerships that we have, one with Fairfax City, the other with Fairfax County.
Hmm.
And Patrick got involved, was just a star right off the bat in our workforce program. And just the dignity, the opportunity to get back to work and to reconnect with the community, really restored his confidence and his sense of self. And he did such an outstanding job. He was hired initially on a part-time basis by the city of Fairfax to work in their Parks and Rec department. And they very recently just offered him a full-time position. And so now Patrick is housed. He has a car. He's really back on his feet, and he's giving back. He's still involved with us here at the Lamb Center, and is just an inspiration for all of us, and definitely to our guests as well.
Wow, what a wonderful story! That's great.
Yeah.
So, as you think about Patrick, but also meeting and interacting with so many guests, what do you find to be some of the biggest factors that contribute to people experiencing homelessness?
There are a lot of factors that contribute to homelessness. I'd say the number one factor is the cost of housing.
Oh, really?
There is not enough affordable housing in our area, and that's a national trend across the country. I mean, when you consider that it costs about $1,700 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in this area, in order to afford that, you need to be earning $68,000 a year, and so or a full-time job at $32 an hour, and that is just not that easy. There are many people in our community that are working in the service sector and other places. They're working, but they cannot afford the rent, and so they may be living in their cars, they may be couch surfing, they may be living on the street in the woods.
Yeah.
And those are a lot of the people that we have here at the Lamb Center. So I would say the number one factor contributing to homelessness, and the greatest challenge that we are facing as a community here, is affordable housing.
Hmm.
So another factor for sure, though, would be um, disability, behavioral health or mental health challenges that individuals may have. Substance use can be another factor. But when you consider the cost of living in this area, and so many of us are living, paycheck to paycheck, and we are one health issue or family crisis away from losing our housing. And once you lose your housing, other things unravel very quickly. And reciprocally, when we can gain housing, then we can really work on other issues. And so, one of the principles that the Lamb Center subscribes to is this housing first model, that it's
Hmm.
just absolutely critical that we get people housed and then we work on their other challenges. It's very difficult to recover from an exit homelessness and stay off the street until you have a roof over your head, and then you can work on the other challenges that you may be facing.
Yeah. So, do you partner with other local businesses or organizations to help your guests get all those services that you're providing?
Yes. Yes. And so, yes, again, just like we have this army of, over 200 volunteers that are serving in the center every week, we also are super fortunate to have over 100 businesses that partner with the Lamb Center in various ways. And we also partner very, very closely at the city and the county level with various organizations, city government and county government. We partner closely with the Office to Prevent and End Homelessness, OPEH. We also work very closely with the Community Services Board, or the CSB as it's called, which supports people who have behavioral health challenges. So we also partner with groups like Facets, which is another human services organization that works closely in the area. So, fighting homelessness is a community challenge, and there are a lot of community resources that come together that we partner very closely with.
And so, with all that additional support, it provides a staff for you and your team. So, can you say a little bit about what are the resources that your staff provides to your guests and the ways that they engage with your guests on a regular basis?
Sure. We have a staff of 19. We're growing. We're actively looking for a couple of additional positions right now. And the reason that we're growing, Mike, is because the need
Hmm.
is growing in the community. So last year we saw approximately 12% increase in the number of folks who were coming through our door. That was in FY23. And in FY24, we saw a 7% increase. So still growing, although the rate of growth appears to be
Hmm.
easing up somewhat. But this tracks with national trends, and so in response, in order to really make sure we're meeting the needs of our guests in as a holistic and complete way as needed, we've been growing our staff, and so we're approximately 19 right now with 5 case managers. Again, that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do, so that when our folks are coming in and looking for help, our case managers are able to work with them on restoring identification. If you're looking for employment or housing, you need to have those critical documents. And when you're experiencing homelessness, those documents are often lost. And so that's a critical service that our case managers can provide. They also can connect our guests to housing resources, to behavioral health resources. Um, they're a place where our guests can just open up and talk about their situation and their needs. And our case managers are mostly masters of social work, and so they're trained and really well prepared to accommodate and to support the needs of our guests. So 5 case managers. We have a number of people on our operations team that support the daily operations in the center and make sure things are running smoothly, and that we have the meals and all the supplies that we need in the center, and just to ensure that our guests are well received when they come through the door. Coordinating our volunteers is another important role that our operations team supports. And then, of course, we have development personnel and communications folks that help to, get our message out and tell the story of
Those
our
case managers,
guests.
they'll walk with your guests every step of the way, hopefully.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, they do tremendous work, and they come to their work with really open hearts. And it's not easy. Our case managers really do the heavy lift, and there's vicarious
Mm,
trauma that they experience. Just in the closeness of the relationships that they have with our guests and working with them on a daily basis. So we work hard to support our case managers because they're doing important work
that's
and
great.
difficult work.
So, can you tell a little bit about the environment the Lamb Center tries to create for its guests? And you can probably talk a little bit about how your case managers and your other staff does that. But how does it continue to be an inclusive place for such a diversity of people that come through your doors?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think that our Christian identity is something that is core to sort of how we serve. And our mission statement is to live out the compassionate heart of Christ by serving our neighbors experiencing homelessness. And we really, even though to walk through our doors and receive services, it doesn't matter if you are Christian or if you have any faith at all. We want to work with you and meet your needs, but it does sort of govern how we serve, and that our identity
Hmm,
is rooted in the gospel, and the service that we're called to as Christians really sort of plays out in the way that we care for guests who come through our
nice.
doors.
So as you kind of shared all the different ways that the Lamb Center is impacting people who are experiencing homelessness and supporting them, and the resources that you provide, what are the ways that you hope the Lamb Center can grow in its services? Or can you say a little bit about where you hope to be in, say, next year, 2 years to 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because the Lamb Center is just about to step into a major project which will create housing for 54 people who are currently experiencing homelessness. Come January of 2025, we'll be breaking ground on Beacon Landing, which is a permanent supportive housing community that will, as I mentioned, serve 54 people. And we're absolutely thrilled to be on this journey. And we've partnered up with Wesley Housing, which is a premier affordable housing developer in the area, to create this project. It's very exciting. The funding for it has come from all levels of government, beginning with the city of Fairfax, also Fairfax County. The state has contributed significant resources, and we've received federal resources. We're still putting together the funds that we need for this project, but we're absolutely delighted to be stepping into housing. We recognize it as the greatest unmet need that our guests have. And the particular kind of housing that we're creating, permanent supportive housing, is, as it says, it is permanent, meaning this is not temporary housing. That when folks move in, they'll be able to stay. This will be their residence in the place where they can live. And it is affordable. It will. We do want our residents to have skin in the game, so they will be required to pay 30% of their income, or a
Hmm,
minimum of $50 a month. It is supportive, meaning that there will be holistic case management services offered in at the residence to help care for our guests. We know that when people are housed, it's not enough to just put them in housing. In order to successfully exit homelessness, they need to have those full wraparound and holistic services available to them. So, permanent supportive housing is a proven solution to homelessness, and the Lamb Center is absolutely thrilled to be building Beacon Landing, starting, as I mentioned, in January of this year. This will be about a 16 to 18 month process. So we expect residents to be moving in the spring to summer of 2026. And one other fun fact is this will actually be the largest permanent supportive housing community in Northern Virginia when it's finished. So we're very humbled and honored to be
yeah,
on this path. Uh, there's
yeah,
two other
absolutely.
areas, if I may mention, that are big strategic priorities that we're working on. We would like to create uh, mental health clinical services here at the Lamb Center for our guests. We currently, as I mentioned, have a strong case management team. We recognize that we'd like to add to that team clinicians that can provide direct services. Right now, the Lamb Center does referrals. to the Community Services Board for our guests. But we feel like if we could lower those barriers to accessing behavioral health services, we would have more uptake and more of our guests would be able to engage and receive that kind of care, which is really, really needed in this community. So we're right now exploring various partnerships and thinking about the best way to bring that clinical capability into the Lamb
Yeah.
Center. So stay tuned on that. There'll definitely be more information. And then the third area of strategic focus is an expansion of our
Nice.
workforce program. So I mentioned that we have strong relationships with the city of Fairfax and Fairfax County. We have contracts with both, where our Lamb Center guests are able to go out and be involved in a workforce training program. They're paid to train. It's a 90-day program, and at the end of that program, we place them into various jobs that align with their skills and interests. We'd like to expand that program significantly and create new partnerships and more diverse opportunities for our guests to work. And so, in the ground floor, the bottom floor of Beacon Landing, which is our permanent supportive housing community, there will actually be a commercial office that will operate like a job center, an employment center, where we'll be able to partner with employers of different kinds. We're very interested in moving out into the private sector to, skill up our workers and guests to really meet the needs of area businesses and expand opportunities, not just for the businesses, but for the guests. And so that new expanded workforce development will be housed in the ground floor of our Beacon Landing building. And we're just thrilled about the prospects of having this building that will not only house, but
Wow.
employ
Those are
people.
three big, bold steps you have coming up in the near future. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're excited about it. We really are, and this is just in response to the need, Mike. And the need is great, and we feel called to do it. We feel like the Holy Spirit is sort of blowing through the place right now, and making these things
Yeah.
possible for us. I will mention that these things do come with
Yeah.
costs, and we
I
are
was going to
just at
ask
the
that question.
outset of a the thing. We're at the outset of a capital campaign. We're in the quiet phase of that campaign, so we'll be saying a lot more about that in the coming months. But those are three of the four. There's actually four pillars in that campaign, but those are the strategic initiatives that campaign supports. The fourth pillar of that campaign is just resources to sort of undergird the Lamb Center itself as we grow and go through these changes, to make sure that we have the resources to sustain our staff and to programmatically to manage all the growth
Yeah,
that we're
with
moving
great need,
through.
there's also great need for generosity. So, what are some of the ways that the average individual who may not know much about the Lamb Center might be able to either volunteer or to give to support all the great services you provide?
The best way to get involved is just to start with our website. You can go on to thelambcenter.org, and you will be able to read about the organization and see what our initiatives are. And then you'll also be able to register for uh, a tour of the Lamb Center and come in and meet with Katie Glick, who manages our volunteers and helps them find the right spot to get involved. So I would say the Lamb Center, or excuse me, the website is the first place to visit. And then I would follow that up with actually a visit to the Lamb Center itself, so you can sort of taste and see all the different things that are going on here. And I think the best thing to do is to match up your personal interests with
Hmm.
things that are happening here. And there's so many things that are happening. Chances are we can tap into one of your interests. And so we certainly welcome people's financial support, their prayers, their interest in volunteering. And I think the place to begin is by checking out
Right. And on
the
the
Lamb
website, does
Center's
it
website.
have other kinds of donations that you might need as well?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. We have our needs list, which is updated on a daily basis. So that's a great place to go and find out what our most critical needs are. Sometimes people have every good intention and they'll drop by with a bag of clothing, but if it isn't what we're looking for, the chances are we're going to donate it on to another organization. So you're absolutely right. The best thing to do is to visit the website and to see what the needs are at the moment, and to help us
Nice.
that way. So
So hypothetically, let's say somebody's listening to this podcast and want to make a larger donation or a big gift. Is there some? You mentioned those big three projects you have coming along, but what comes to mind for you if there was some either corporate or large donors out there that would like to support your work?
we would love to talk with them. And Wendy Baird is our director of development, and she would welcome a conversation. Her contact information is available on our website, but they can certainly also reach out to me. My contact information is also available on the website, but I'll just mention it here. It would be Tara Ruszkowski at thelambcenter.org. And we would love to sit down with interested parties. And again, I think the best thing to do is when we meet with prospective donors, we always want to learn about them and what their interests are, because I think the more connected you are to the gift that you make, the more meaningful it is, for the individual donor, and frankly for us as well. And so, generally, those engagements begin with a tour of the Lamb Center and conversation where we learn about each other, and then we can plan together the way that individuals or corporations want to have an impact. But we absolutely need the help, and the need is tremendous. It is growing. Homelessness in our area continues to grow. When you think about 1,900 plus 1,900 individuals on an annual basis coming through our doors looking for help, and all kinds of help. And so the need is tremendous, and the Lamb Center is doing the very best that it can, and it's blessed by the response from the community has been tremendous, and particularly from our
Yeah.
faith partners like Holy Trinity. We're very, very fortunate that the community is responding in the way it is. This is a generous community that we live in, and so we're especially grateful. But we're also fighting a lot of stigma, aren't we? Around homelessness. And so, one of the things about getting involved in the Lamb Center and becoming educated about the challenges that our homeless neighbors are facing is that it builds people's understanding and people's connection. And that's an important part of what we
Yeah.
also do
And
here at the
one
Lamb Center.
elements I wanted to highlight for listeners who may not be aware of this is that the Lamb Center provides a unique service in that you are not a homeless area or a homeless shelter where people stay over. You are a space for people who are experiencing homelessness to go during the daytime, which is a unique service that you guys provide.
That's right. We're the only daytime drop-in center in Region 4 in Fairfax County, and we provide critical services. We're a cooling center in the hot days of summer. We're a warm, safe place for people in the coldest days in the wintertime, and every day in between. And we provide a safe space. We provide a space where when you come through our doors, we're going to know your name. We're glad to see you, and that is just all too important for the community
Yeah.
that we're
And the
serving.
reality is that when you say goodbye to your guests at the end of the day, they're right back out onto the street. With majority may not have a place to stay that evening. Is there other elements of or aspects of the Lamb Center that we hadn't talked about that you'd like to share with folks?
I would just like to encourage folks who have not had a chance to visit the Lamb Center to schedule a visit and come and get to know us. I started out here actually as a volunteer after my son, when he was in middle school, came to the Lamb Center as part of his confirmation class, and he worked in our laundry. And he was really touched, Mike, by a mom and a son who were experiencing homelessness that he met when he came here,
Hmm.
at the age of 13. And he came home and said, Mom, these folks are just like us, but they've hit a bump in the road
Yeah.
and they need our help. And that's what got me here at the Lamb Center. And that was 13 years ago. And so it's interesting how, sometimes I think God speaks to us through our children, but it was through His eyes that I first came to know the Lamb Center, and to know the real needs of the people in our community, our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. And so, um, the Lamb Center is a very special place. Um, and it's a wonderful place to spend time. It's a wonderful place to volunteer. And you may say to yourself, well, I don't have a lot of time, but we have regular volunteers, and we also have volunteers who fill in. And so you can get on our floater list and then just match your schedule and your availability with openings that we have. We have opportunities for corporate groups to come in and do special projects on the weekends, and that's a lot of fun. So, and if you have an idea, the listener out there that's listening to this podcast has an idea about how they would like to get involved with the Lamb Center, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear.
Excellent.
So,
It's fantastic. Well, I just want to take one extra moment and say thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with me and with us, so that others can know more about the Lamb Center. And thank you for all that you're doing, your amazing leadership, and for your fantastic staff that provides such a hospitable place for your guests. It's really quite a special environment.
well, Mike, I want to just say a very special thanks to you as well for your leadership and your belief in what we do. You and your community and your family have committed in such personal ways and special ways to supporting, the work of the Lamb Center and the folks that we're serving, and we're really blessed by that. So thank you.